welcome back to The Short Game. This is a show where we talk about short video games, the kind of things you can pick up and complete in an evening or a weekend, games that respect your time. I'm your host, Reagan Kelly, and I'm joined this week by my co-hosts, Laura Nash. How are you doing, Laura?
I'm doing great, although I believe I might be in pieces from a few exploded bombs.
Yep, I think we all are. And Nate, how are you doing, Nate?
Dead. I'm dead.
And Shane, how are you, Shane?
I cannot be exploded. I am invulnerable.
Awesome. And this week we're talking about a really, really short game. Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. Short game, relatively long title. Laura, you were the one that recommended this game after playing it at BitBash, so maybe you could go ahead and describe it briefly for our listeners.
Sure. Well, the version I played at BitBash was it was the first level, which none of my co-hosts played because we made them play the harder ones.
Which is why we're all dead.
And I played it on the Oculus. It's a game where one person has visuals and everyone else just has to talk.
To me, it's kind of like very important technical support, the video game.
It is. It rewards brevity, but it also rewards accuracy because you have to give enough information that the person can solve the problem, and homophones will be a problem.
Yeah, can we just dive in and give some examples? Because I feel like this is something that we can talk about in the abstract, but until we need to lay the ground floor for the listener to understand what it is that we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll start that off. It's a game for 2 or more players. One player is presented with a bomb and with a series of controls and wires and all sorts of complex controls all over it. And the other player or players are presented with a PDF manual for bomb disposal. And you have to talk the other player through it.
Just keep talking. What is this first one?
The first one is a wire module. It's got the 6 wires across.
6?
Yes, 6
Any
wires.
yellow wires?
There's 1 yellow wire.
Okay, more than 1 white wire?
2 white wires, yeah.
Are there no red wires?
There are no red wires. There's 3 blue wires, 2 white wires.
Cut the last wire.
The last wire, the bottom one? All right. Oh, it turned red. Something's wrong.
Repeat.
2 white wires,
Okay.
3 blue wires, and a yellow wire.
There's exactly 1 yellow wire?
Yes, just 1.
How many wires were there to begin with?
And is there more than 1 white?
There were 2 white wires.
Cut the 4th wire. Sorry, that was my mistake.
4th wire, okay. Green, all right.
And I think this is a game that scales really well because every person you add to the bomb disposal team adds both kind of speed to identifying the strategy, but also complexity in terms of everyone talking over each other and destroying any hope that you have of survival.
Yeah, so the bomb is broken into modules. And as you scale in difficulty, they'll either add more modules or decrease the amount of time that you have to solve these modules. And each module in and of itself is a puzzle. And they scale from little word games to rudimentary math to
things like Simon Says.
or accurately describing silly little symbols.
So the next module has 4 buttons on it, and the buttons have symbols on them.
Okay, do they look like Cyrillic type symbols?
Yeah, sort of.
Like a keypad? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to describe the 4 symbols for you. The first one looks kind of like a very sassy number 6. Like the top of the 6 is kind of like a little lazier.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. There's an H with like a slanty crossbar, and it's got a little U above it to kind of set it off as a fancier H.
Okay, so last row.
Got it.
The last row there's an ASH, like an AE combined.
Okay.
And then there's like a thing that kind of looks like the Euro symbol, but with a umlaut over it.
Okay, I think we got it.
Okay.
So
Wait.
We got
okay,
2 minutes and 50
I see the
seconds
column
left,
here
guys.
we need.
So
All right.
press the sassy 6.
Sassy 6. All right, good.
Press the backwards euro with the umlaut.
Done. All right, green and green.
Press the AE.
And then the 4th one, the H.
And then press the fancy H with the U over
green.
it.
We're good. Okay, that
Good job.
module's good.
Boom.
When we played just now, I was the one with the screen, so only I was running the game on my laptop here. Everybody else was just looking at bombmanual.com, which, I mean, you're all probably on an NSA list
Pretty
now.
great.
All I was able to do was see this bomb and rotate it and click on buttons on it. And I really had no idea what any of them did or what to expect with any of them.
As we yelled conflicting instructions in your ear, which I'm sure was great.
Well, actually, it was really fun. Like, I think Shane really hit it on the head in that the more people you have doing this, kind of the more chaotic it gets, even though more hands can make quicker work of the bomb.
Too many cooks detonate the broth.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Some of the modules that we saw, like the one Nate mentioned, for example, one of the very simplest modules would just give you 4 buttons, and I had to tell you guys what was on the buttons. And then you had to tell me what order to hit the buttons in. But the problem is that none of these are familiar symbols. And so we have to kind of explain what the symbols are and hope that we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, my favorite symbol is one that didn't show up when you guys did it, but when Justin and I played at the event, we called it Cthulhu. Because it's this weird 3-legged thing.
Yeah, and one thing that I thought was really cool about it, as how many bombs did we go at? Probably 7 or so total.
Yeah. Each bomb is 3 to 5 minutes.
I think we succeeded at like 3 or 4.
We actually did. I thought we did pretty well for at least Shane and I having never played. Reagan, like it was the first time I had really even seen it, other than a photo of it. What I did like too is that like the kind of like meta game evolves where we each kind of, I don't know if master is anywhere near the right word, but take hold of or own a certain type of module. So for instance, like that little describe you one, or there's a different one. There's like a word one where we had to decipher the word.
Who's on first.
The who's on first one.
Who's on first.
The worst one.
That I would say that Laura was like the first one. She's like, I know what's going on. And Shane and I just kind of shut up until we caught up with her and kind of were able to support. And there was like a Simon Says one.
So now there's another module that I haven't seen before, and this one looks like a Simon Says. Basically.
Great.
Okay, I got this
4
one. All
buttons.
Go, Shane.
That's the next page on the manual. Convenient.
And this one, there's a green button that's blinking slowly, and there's also red, yellow, and blue.
One of the 4 buttons, the green button is flashing. Is it kind of clockwise from the top? Is it blue, yellow, green, red?
Yes, that's it.
All right, so which one's flashing?
Guys, we just got 2 minutes left, and there's 2 more manuals. There's 2 more modules. There's green one's flashing slowly.
Green one is flashing. Okay, so
And we have 1 strike?
Press yellow,
Yeah.
blue, yellow.
Wait, is serial number contain a vowel?
Oh god, it blew up.
Yeah.
Shane, you killed us.
So, yeah, shade above that was if the serial number contains a vowel. If not, we went to the second table.
There's 2 tables for this thing. It says cause of explosion, Simon Says. All right.
And so it would be like, okay, Simon Says, who knows how to do that? Okay, you take it. And with that, it actually, instead of all of us screaming at each other, we actually got very efficient, which I was pretty proud of. Like, who knows this module? I do. You do it.
It became, it's a communication game. It's a great party game. Only one person actually needs to own the game. Although I think you're probably, if you play expert enough, you're probably going to want to look at a bomb every once in a while. You know, switching roles is a completely different experience. But every time it's a different bomb, procedurally generated. And I think we got a lot better as we went along, but we also got a little cockier. I think there was a case where I said okay, as in I'm ready, and
there was a button that was labeled
there was a button
okay.
that said okay, and I
okay, click, boom.
Boom. Yeah.
You're gonna do that all the time.
Yeah, that particular module is really designed to mess with you because all of the buttons have these very easy to mistake names. The buttons will have names like your or your with an apostrophe or not with an apostrophe. Or there'll be a button called right and a button called left. And they might not be on the right or the left. And there'll be a button called literally UH space HUH, which, you know, I didn't realize how often I say the phrase until I had to realize that wasn't that was going to mislead people about the button to hit. So yeah, really, really clever design there, designed specifically to screw you up.
All of them are designed to specifically screw up. I think the best part of it to me is that like every time you screw up, it feels like your fault and not the game's fault.
Yeah.
And I think there are very few games where you never blame the game for your mistakes.
And I also think that this really stands alone as a party game. Like, there are party games, I mean, things like Mario Party, that are built as games for people to kind of just play a fun game with friends. But usually those are things in that sort of Mario Party vein, where it's an easy game with a competitive angle and some luck to it. This is a game that's a party game more like your Apples to Apples is a party game. Like, this is a game designed to cause communication and cause sort of fun scenes to emerge while you and a few friends are hanging out, you know, drinking your wine or whatever it is. This game doesn't happen on the computer, although one person certainly is using a computer. This is a game that happens in the space that you're having your party in. And, you know, for us, that was here on Skype, which, you know, this is our party. Once a week we record this show, but this might be a game that you would play with one person getting out a laptop to play it, and everybody else has their glass of wine and cheese and a copy of the bomb manual. Like,
man, I want to go to your parties. These sound way better than my parties. It's like, grab your PBR and sit at my cardstock table.
Wine, cheese, and binders. Ooh. Like, man, Reagan has the hosting down.
Yeah, and I also think that, like a good party game, like, this is super flexible about how you decide to approach it. You could have a bunch of people sharing one bomb manual all crowded over one another. You could have everybody very planned out with a printed out bomb manual on their own, you know, binder. Everybody could just pull up the website for the bomb manual on their phone. The only thing that you need is a laptop with this game on it. Or, I suppose, an Oculus Rift if you happen to be one of the 10 people in the world that own one of those.
I think one of my favorite things about this game is I have played a ton of party games. I mean, Bang comes to mind as one of the...
Bang is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Bang is awesome until you get eliminated, and then your party is go get chips because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
This game, I watched a ton of people playing it at BitBash, and I really laughed a lot, especially when, like, couples were super lovey-dovey in the line and feeling really secure in their relationship, and then they would play this and they would get into a little fight in front of 30 people.
Oh, I'm terrified to play this with my wife.
You said there was no vowel in the serial number. I'm sorry.
I didn't know it. He was a vowel.
Sometimes why?
You know, I actually made that mistake. There was an I in the serial number, and I think I thought it was a 1, but maybe my brain just didn't register that I is a vowel. Like, this game brings out those little mistakes, and that's part of the gameplay, like, making mistakes.
My favorite part was when the lights went out, you just freaked out.
Oh my god, that was so funny. That hadn't happened until the last bomb we did, and suddenly 3/4 of the way through, you're playing in a room. Like, you know, it has a moderately detailed simulation of a room with a bomb on a desk. And the lights in the bomb room went out, and all I could see was the blinking timer. I knew the game hadn't frozen up. The timer was still working. But the lights went out, and I couldn't see any of the buttons for a good, 15 seconds. And I was like, is this just how I have to do it now? I can't see any buttons. Finally, they came back on. I think the game is probably... We haven't played all of the bombs. I have a feeling it's going to be playing more tricks on you as you go, the farther you go.
You know, another game, and I want to keep talking about this game for sure, but the only other game that I feel was a somewhat similar experience, and I know that we've talked about this game before, but Space Team.
Space Team!
Yeah.
There was definitely vibes of Space Team, though.
Oh, yeah.
Though different. You know, with this, we're all working towards one common goal. What's nice about Space Team, it is one common goal, but you kind of have your own individual things you're trying to deal with.
Yeah, it divides
right?
everybody up.
Yeah, and everybody needs a screen. You know, everybody needs to have their own little device to play it on.
And you have to be in the same spot.
Yeah, I would argue that this game is more accessible than Space Team. Though I would also argue that the actual doing of it is a lot more complicated than Space Team. This took many readings and rereadings of the manual to even begin to comprehend what the solution was. Whereas Space Team, it's like, grind the mega nipple. Who has the mega nipple? Someone needs to be grinding it. And then, like, that's kind of the extent of it.
My question to you guys, because I only played as the bomb diffuser, and I had a ton of fun, but, like, I could see the position of expert, which is, bomb manual reader, possibly being a drag. It seemed like you guys were having fun, though. So you found the fun in frantically looking through the manual.
Well, it's very satisfying when you get it. It's like riddles and stuff. Like, anyone who is into problem solving and troubleshooting in like the fun way, not like, did you turn it off and turn it on again? Like, like it's super satisfying. I think just to give a real like hard example for people who are listening and might not fully understand like what people that are reading the manual might see, I'm going to read just a little snippet here of what we're looking at, okay? So Reagan might say, I'm looking at a panel of 4 wires, okay? And this is what we see. We see a whole wall of text that's broken down into 3 wires, 4 wires, 5 wires, and 6 wires. So I find the 4 wires, and this is what I read. If there's more than one red wire and the last digit of the serial number is odd, cut the last red wire. Otherwise, if the last wire is yellow and there are no red wires, cut the first wire. Otherwise, if there's exactly one blue wire, cut the first wire. Otherwise, if there is more than one yellow wire, cut the last wire. Otherwise, cut the second wire. and that is actually, frankly, one of the simplest ones.
Yeah, the wires is the fastest.
Yeah, because with that, we're just going down. Is it this? No. Is it this? No. Is it this? Yes. Cut this wire. But as the people who are diffusing the bomb, it's up to us to properly convey that to the person.
And some of them take more time than others. One of the most interesting ones that we came across was one that sort of has you input a password, but you have a limited number of letters that you can use. And there must be, I don't see the bomb manual side, there must be a really long list of word possibilities.
There are 35 words.
Oh, wow, yeah. So Laura had the really smart idea for me to just read to her what some of the letters were, and then she went ahead and just spent some time trying to work out what our password was while we went and worked on a different module.
And it worked.
Yeah, that worked.
It's a big benefit when we have multiple people. I don't know how you do that with only, say, one bomb diffuser and one bomb manual reader.
I think it'd be doable, but I think that particular one would just be a lot slower. But other ones are made a little trickier. Like with the wire one, that occupies the bomb diffuser completely, going through the 20 questions of trying to figure out which wire to cut. So there's not really a way to kind of say, here, figure this module out and get back to me. So I think it's you learn as you go which modules are quick to solve, which ones are not quick to solve, which ones have an easy way to ask about, which ones are really complicated, which ones you can kind of ask a couple of questions, figure it out, and get back to the bomb diffuser.
There was just a disgraceful showing in the trial run that Reagan and I did where we got a maze, and I was trying to navigate him through an invisible maze.
Yeah, the maze ones are really weird.
We only did that once, but it was a disaster.
Yeah, we got that a couple of times in this one, but both of them were places where we exploded before we even tried the maze.
I was wondering about that because I kept seeing it in the manual, and I'm like, no, I'm just, I'll figure
Kill me
that
now.
out. Yeah, I'll figure that out when we get there.
No problem.
And that's what's funny is, we played for, 45 minutes. We did several bombs, and there are so many little modules in this thing that we did not even get close to. And like, they really take, like, you stare at it and you're like, okay, numbers, letters, I know these things individually. I can figure this out. But you have to take a step back and read it top to bottom and actually comprehend each individual line. You can't just like read the thing and be like, I got it. You have to spend time with it. All the while you've got the bomb diffuser who's like, hey, guys, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. And then everybody dies.
Yep.
And it's great.
We're all doomed. We've got modules on the back and front this time, and the first one is one that we haven't seen before. It's got an LCD display with 5 letters and arrows above and below them, and it says BLEXE.
1 second. That's page 16, guys.
Laura's back here to save us.
We needed you, Laura.
Yep.
BLEXE. We've got arrows above and below each letter, and there's a submit button. B as in boy, L as in, I don't know, legume.
We know it in a legume?
EXE, like executable file or execution.
One of the things I find most charming is that the subject line of every page, the header, are things like, on the subject of complicated wires.
Yeah, the manual's great. It's well illustrated as far as like a good representation of what the bomb diffuser is seeing. There's a lot of character in it. It is perfectly vague while providing the enough information to solve it. I do wonder if there is a skill peak in this game. So like, let's say the 4 of us just did this for like 5 hours. I feel like it could get to the point where it's just like boom, 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 diffuse, diffuse, diffuse.
Yeah, and I feel like eventually this game, there is an end to this game, even though the bombs are different every time. I think eventually, people would get good at all of the different types of modules, and it would become essentially like busy work. But that's the same for a lot of types of games.
True, and I think the way you keep this fresh is if you become an expert communicator, then you get put on bomb diffusion duty because then you have no knowledge.
Right.
You might be able to give the right information. Like you might be able to say, I'm at keypad, it's Cthulhu and Omega and Star.
And Sassy 6.
But there's not as much advantage of having an expert in Reagan's position.
Yeah, and I think this would be a really fun game to like bring new people into. So I've played this a bunch, but you haven't. Let's play it together. It'll be a lot of fun for both of us.
Oh yeah, definitely. You want to get the new people in.
Because a lot of games, like, if you got one person who's really experienced and another person who isn't, they're just going to walk all over the person who isn't experienced, and that person is going to have a bad time. And that's not going to be the case here. It's going to be fun for everybody regardless.
Well, and I imagine too that like, let's say you've been a expert for a while and you become a bomb diffuser, you're gonna start jumping to conclusions. But come on, guys, it's this. But you're not the one looking at the manual, and it's impossible to memorize these individual steps. So you'll have to take a step back and be like, "This is what I see. I need you guys to interpret it for me," instead of being like, "No, page 16, section 3." Like,
yeah,
you don't know that for sure because
you can't memorize the manual.
It is so specific. Even if you do like memorize the manual, it is so specific to each individual occurrence. Like you're gonna have to take a step back and let the people who are looking at the manuals actually be the ones to guide you through it.
So press the first button that I say. Sure, you are, your,
nope,
your,
nope,
next,
nope,
uh-huh,
nope,
you are,
nope,
hold,
nope,
what,
nope,
you,
nope,
like,
nope.
I have no idea where she's getting this
done,
list from.
Nope.
You,
nope.
wait, was the first
yes.
one you?
The word is yes.
No, so
right?
the buttons are okay, nothing, press, blank, right, and left.
And the previous thing said you at the top, right?
Yes, it did. And then now it says yes.
Using a label from step 1, press the first button that appears.
No,
in its
the
corresponding
label
list.
from step 1. So that would have been what was on the button
Read
that
the
I hit.
display. And
What
use
was on the
to
label
determine
from step
which
1?
button
I
label
don't
to
remember
read.
what was on the button that I hit in
Oh,
step 1. So this game is available on Steam for Windows only. That was a bit inconvenient because I had to boot over to Windows. But if you have a Windows machine around, it'll run on that. And it's also coming to all of the VR platforms, for which I can imagine it's perfect. But I also think that's something that's pretty far off for most people.
Oh, it's pretty great. I will say that the nice thing is they warn you over and over again not to look at the manual. If you're in VR, you can't see a damn thing but the bomb.
Yeah. And then there's no way that anybody else could see what's in your headset. So kind of perfect for that. This is actually the first like genius multiplayer VR experience that I can think of. So yeah, way good for that. But I think that's probably a bit far off for most people. We're not going to be having household VR headsets for most people, but don't let that keep you from playing it. Like, it's really fun if just, you set up across the room from each other and try not to peek at the laptop screen. It's $15, which is pretty reasonable, and I think this would be a great thing to bring with you, for Thanksgiving or Christmas. If you have friends or family who aren't big video game people and you want to share something with them that's a fun video game experience that also will connect with people who have no interest in games, start them on the manual and then introduce them to the bomb diffusing side. And I think everybody would have a great time. I think this is a great game to bring with you to, gatherings.
Yeah, load it up on the laptop and open it up at Thanksgiving dinner this year.
It's a much easier sell than Escape the Room. So.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So this was a really unusual one for us, but I'm really glad we played it. I had a lot of fun. Thank you guys for playing it with me. And listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode of The Short Game with this kind of unusual game that I think you really ought to give a try if you have an opportunity this holiday season.
Yeah, let us know if you guys play this game over Thanksgiving. We'd love to hear about how your grandma was an expert diffuser and how your little sister exploded everything on site.
I cannot begin to imagine my grandma playing this game.
Actually, I think that would be so much fun to play this with like somebody who's never played a video game or totally uninterested in them. I think this would be a lot of fun.
You'd have to print it out, and that's
yeah. How long is the manual in pages? How many sheets are we talking about here?
It ends up being a total of 23 pages.
Not too bad. If you have a printer.
You know what? I've got almost every, not every, but many of the older men in my family are all engineers.
They would adore this.
I would love to see their handling of this game.
So if you guys have a chance to play it, let me know, and we'll bring our stories back next time. And same to you, listeners. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. I've been your host, Reagan Kelly, and you can find me on Twitter at ReaganK, RayGank. And of course, you can follow our show on Twitter as well at _shortgame. And you can go to our website, www.theshortgame.net, where you can find a contact form. You can email us at info@theshortgame.net. We want to hear from you and hear your recommendations on short games that we might have missed this year as we roll into the end of the season. Laura, where can people find you on the internet?
You can also find me on Twitter at Laura J. Nash.
And Nate, how about you?
Also on Twitter at NateSTL.
And Shane, where can people find you?
I'm at 8-Bit Shane.
And join us next week on our next episode of The Short Game.